Hi, I'm Rabbi Johanna Hershenson, serving a community temple Beth Tikva in Bend, Oregon. Welcome to Words of Torah. It has been 2 weeks since we have gathered for this weekly Torah teaching, and in that time we have completed the book of Numbers and begun the book of Deuteronomy, the fifth and final book of the Torah. The very name that is given to this book, in English we use the Greek name Deuteronomy as opposed to the Hebrew Devarim, um, is really to me very interesting and an important lesson in and of itself. Deuteronomy refers to a second telling. And throughout this book, Moses has the Israelites, right, on the eastern side of the River Jordan, waiting to cross over into the promised land. But before they can go, Moses is going to give a second telling, is going to retell their history, how they came to be, and what brought them to this moment in time in order to instruct them and guide them and sort of facilitate the energy with which they enter into the promised land. So, what is interesting to me is that this is something we do all the time, right? We go through life and accumulate this lived experience, right? But the manner in which we tell the stories of those experiences to our children, to our peers, to neighbors, to strangers, right? That's our Deuteronomy. That's our second telling. Because whenever we tell a story, even if we try to stick to the facts, we tend to prioritize and arrange the facts in a manner that validates the lessons that we took from that experience. So, this notion of a second telling is something that we do all the time, and I think is really interesting to pay attention to. This week, in the portion called Ekev, Moses' instruction is to pay attention in particular to how easy it will be at some point in the future when we're living in the promised land, when we're comfortable, when we're fat and lazy, that we might think everything we have is because of our own doing and not part of a much bigger process in which we participated. So this week, Moses warns the Israelites, first of all, to remember where they came from. They've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. They did not bring enough provisions. And most of this time, they are surviving off of manna. And there's a famous quote in this week's reading: man shall not live by bread alone. Right? The instruction is that Moses is saying to the Israelites, God provided you manna during our wandering so that you know that, right, we don't survive on bread alone, meaning we don't survive by the work of our hands, right? Bread is taking natural ingredients, wheat, and crushing it, adding water, some kind of a fermentation, a yeast, an egg, a vinegar, right, and producing bread. Uh, we shouldn't think because we mix the ingredients together that we make the bread, right? Those ingredients come from somewhere, and the number of variables involved in bringing those ingredients to our kitchen table where we can then turn it into something, count and should be recognized. So then the next thing Moses says after remembering the manna, meaning that you can live off of whatever God provides for you, Moses cautions the Israelites, advising them as you begin to eat from the land, right? Remember to bless God. Thank you for the fruit of the tree. Thank you that the earth can produce plants that sustain me, that I can live and be healthy and strong and vibrant. And then, third, Moses couches the story, right? First, remember God provides, you can live off of whatever. Second, when you're not suffering and you're starting to harvest from the land, Remember, the land, like all these variables, right? So you got to bless God, because even though you may sweat to create the produce, the other variables play a role as well. And then finally, the third instruction is to not get boastful. And Moses specifically says, and I love this, so I'm going to quote: "When you have eaten your fill and have built fine houses to live in, and your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold have increased, and everything you own has prospered, beware that you do not grow boastful." And in fact, a little bit later in the portion, we will be instructed to circumcise the foreskin of our hearts, to cut away the fat that gets in the way of our ability to have empathy and compassion and a sense that um, the universe and the society in which we live sustain us as much as we sustain ourselves. I can't think of more important lessons for us as we enter into a less than graceful and dignified presidential election in our country. Election season is here, and feelings are strong. I know I have strong feelings, but here I'm going to defer to this instruction from Moses. Let's remember, it's more than what I think, it's more than what I contribute. How can I open myself to truly engage and partner with others and understand that it's about interdependence? It's about having each other's backs and protecting the capacity of the planet to continue to produce the oxygen and the sustenance that we need. With that, I say happy Torah studies to you, and I look forward to our next meeting.